Welcome to episode 6 of Wrestlefolks. My name is Thomas Green. Find me on Twitter at NotThatTomGreen. I am out of energy. That was way too fast of an intro. Anyway, this week's singular guest. Name's Sean Blazed. Find him on Twitter at Sean Blazed. And also find his writings on theimpersonals.com. That's impersonals.com. Or rather, theimpersonals.com. I'm bad at the shilling thing. But nonetheless, even though I'm horrible at shilling, let me show your product. Let me show your event. I need sponsors for this show because I need money. I'm not doing as well as I would like to be in this world, and I need to earn my keep somehow. Email wrestlefolks@gmail.com. Very affordable listenership level versus cost value. Get on that now, and we'll all be happy. This week's episode was sponsored by my mom. I'm not joking. She saw a Facebook post I put up asking for sponsors. She texted me saying, "Hey, do you need money?" I replied, "Yes, my wife and I are behind on bills." I used my wife's name in the text, which is why that might have sounded unnatural there. But anyway, she replied, "Okay, I am sending you money now." She sent a Walmart MoneyGram deal, and thus she is the sponsor of this week's episode. So thanks, Mom. Appreciate it. Again, wrestlefolks@gmail.com. If you want to sponsor next week's episode, jump on that quick. It'll be fun. Spring break, but with more pasty skin or something. I don't know. Ugh. Anyway, after the song, Sean Blazed tells us about why the backbreaker is the most dreaded and deadly hold in the history of backyard wrestling. Sean, when did you start watching wrestling?
I didn't have cable when I was a really young kid, so I probably started watching it around like the time when I was, N64 was coming out. I think I was probably around like 11, 12 kind of age, and when games like, the WCW Revenge, that game, and like WrestleMania 2000 and stuff, when those ones started coming out, that's when I would like, my parents were, they wanted me to be into things like making music and stuff like that, and they weren't really like diehard about me being into wrestling. So that's when I start sneaking over to my friends' places and stuff, and watching, catching episodes of Raw and stuff. And we would talk about these episodes like way after, because at the time we had the internet, and but I never thought to use the internet to try to watch wrestling. We had no YouTube or anything, so we'd just be talking about Raw and making up our own storylines in the video games and stuff. It was it led to some backyard wrestling down the line.
And we'll get into that in a second, because you've let me in on a little bit of it, and I'm very, very interested to talk about that. I did want to hit on the getting in on like the N64 generation, so to speak. Like, I just find that interesting, like those games. Like, I don't know if you were into like WCW and NWO Revenge, or if you were more of like the WWF games type, but like those games seem to get people into wrestling just as much as at least the stuff on TV at the time. Because I remember, at least from my personal experience, because we seem to be around the same age, I had friends who didn't like wrestling, but they got like the WCW and NWO Revenge game, and all of a sudden they would come to school, and knowing I was the weird kid that liked wrestling and didn't stop liking it when it was uncool, we're like, "Hey, who is this skeleton guy, La Park?" And yeah, we would go on from there. But yeah, that's. Oh, go ahead.
I remember that game. That game was beautiful. It had like, because back in the day when the arcade WrestleMania and all that was out, I knew who Hulk Hogan was, but I didn't really know who the rest of the characters were. I didn't have cable, I wouldn't be watching it. But those games are pretty fun, I guess. Like, they're fun now. You go back and play those old like arcade WrestleMania and stuff, and where it's all side scrolling. Those are fun now, but back in the day it was just like whatever. But those N64 ones, like NWO Revenge, that WCW one, that was, I wasn't really that into WCW at the time. Like I'd more watch WWE, but that game was, that kind of is what, in my opinion, got me really like actually into wrestling for real.
Like, and they are fun to play now. Like the web series I work on, Joe Gagne's Funtime Arcade. He covered those games, and I had to cap the video footage for it, and it's been hours playing those games. And I don't want to say had to, because it was so much fun. I got hooked again, but I was about ready to transition into the backyard goodness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a, it's a lot. The backyard is like a 6 year or 5 year, I think, expanse of my life where I was like, all throughout high school and stuff, and a little bit after high school, I was going into guys' backyards, when we were probably started when we were 13. And in class, my buddy's passing around this sheet of paper, and he's like, "Hardcore Wrestling League, sign your name and sign up for it." And I was like, he gave it to me, and I was like, "How hardcore is Hardcore Wrestling League?" And he's like this tiny little dude. He ended up becoming one of the craziest lightweights, and he's like, "Well, I don't know, we'll hit each other with trash cans and throw each other through cardboard boxes." And I was like, "Sounds fun, I'm in. Fuck yeah, let's do this." And so he's so I show up to the first time at his yard, and it's like a bunch of kids. There's like, I don't know, it was a ragtag group to say the least, and we would pretty much do exactly that. It was like we'd be winter here. I live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It's like really cold here in the winter, and it like -40, -50 cold, and that's in Celsius, but apparently it's pretty similar in Fahrenheit around that temperature. And yeah, we'd throw each other through cardboard boxes, and then we were like, cardboard boxes suck. We're gonna get some tables. So we would make like makeshift tables and stuff, and throw each other through like pieces of plywood. Really idiotic shit. And it wasn't until like my buddy's brother and his friends, who are a few years older, who they did some wrestling stuff, but it was all like in the house. They just do moves to each other, and they were like, you know what, this is a good idea, let's fucking put a show together and jump off some rooftops. And that is exactly what we did. So we we would pretty much like try to put on like a structured show, but the idea is that you just videotape it, and if people want to show up, people never showed up in the dead of winter, but in summer it gets like hot here, so we had good crowds. uh we'd set a camera up, and it's like we had a card. If people wanted to show up, they would. And some of those guys just went fucking nuts. Like I kind of, I was a little different. I wasn't that much of a hardcore wrestler. I had my own gimmicks and storylines and stuff, and that's kind of what I was all about. I was pretty showboaty when we had a big crowd. When we didn't, I didn't really care as much about the show. Uh, but yeah, I had a wrestling name and stuff.
And what would this wrestling name be?
Firebolt,
Firebolt.
of the main event. Yeah,
Oh,
man. Now I know that's a reference to something else that I didn't realize after. A certain book and movie franchise is the name of a certain broom, but you like I totally didn't even think about that when I named myself that. I was like, oh, it's like a bolt of fire. Oh, super awesome. I'm 14 years old, and so I kind of, I had my gimmick revolving around being the cocky guy. you know, I was more so into playing the heel, as in 100% of the time, I would always be the heel. I'd get pops, but it was when I, did a good move or something like that. The crowd would never love me. It was in a constant state of booing, but it was, I was all about doing my signature moves and not so much like hitting each other with light tubes and barbed wire matches and kendo sticks. And, I'd take all that stuff if it happened, because there'd be a lot of guys who their whole style is, I'm hardcore. This is who I am all the time. And I'll go in a match with disqualification on, and just get my posse to distract the ref while I bring a light tube over the back of your head. I was like, well, if that's your gimmick, we'll go for it. But uh, I didn't really like hitting people with light tubes because of that dust.
Oh my, see, this interested me because like around that age, I dabbled in the backyarding a bit. But, like we had like these guys from out of town that would do like the hardcore stuff, and they were like these little skinny dudes who were like into like ICP, and they were the stereotypical hardcore wrestling fan, if you will.
Juggalo backyard wrestlers, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And like they would do like 4 matches on the show because we wanted to see lots of light tubes when we didn't want to do it. So they would have to wrestle each other for half the show.
Nice.
Yes, and we had like there was a guy in the league. This is gonna sound super creepy because I was like 16 at the time. There was a guy in the league that was like 35, which
Oh,
is I know, right? And like he wore like a G Unit shirt and like sweatpants, and it like watching the tape back, it is so creepy, so creepy. Uh, but and like he would try to do like all like technical chain mat wrestling, and he would like I had to wrestle him once, and he was calling moves to me that he would just make up in his head, and they weren't actual moves. Like it would be like an inverted something or other, but he would just call it out there by like the name that he had made up for, like the Super Yawn Destroyer or whatever, and we wouldn't know what the heck it was, and then he would just kind of grab you and do it. I remember one like the one time he wrestled the finisher he wanted to do was like a spinning angle slam where he dumped you on the back of your neck, which sounds completely safe, obviously, but he but he called it like the yawn slam or something. Didn't call it anything remotely sounding like what it actually was. So
was his
like,
name John?
yeah, his name was Shotgun Yan. Yan spelled Y-A-N. To this day, we don't know what country he's from. He had an accent. I chose Russia as country of origin, but he denied that. Um, I know now he lives in Las Vegas with his parents. And this was almost 10 years ago, by the way. So he's
Whoa.
like 45 now. But he like his dad's like a hairdresser, and like I don't know how familiar you are with like American independence, but like every pro wrestling guerrilla show out in LA, he's sitting front row across from the camera, and he's always
Whoa.
wearing a hospital bracelet. And we've tried to figure out what the heck the hospital bracelet's for, because like I have a friend who he still like calls up every week, like, hey, we should get the backyard stuff back together and blah blah blah. That dude's like really old now too, not really old, but yeah, it's just all very weird. I remember we did a war games match once because I really wanted to do a war games match because whatever, and the finish he wanted to win really badly, but there was no possible way that like I don't know, like in my head, like there's no possible way this old man could tap anybody out. Legitimacy, legitimacy. And there was a toy gun in the dude's house, so the finish was he pulls a gun out of his sweatpants and holds someone hostage.
What?
I know, right? And like a minute earlier, like I never took moves on my head because I was very safe like that. And somebody picks me up by my head, another guy picks me up by my leg, and like DDTs me into a stop sign, and I get a concussion. The only concussion in the history of the league. And I was the guy who did all the comedy stuff. Like my gimmick was that I feuded with a hockey stick. So
Nice. Yeah, we had one of those. It was a broom in our league.
it was I used to do I used to like be everyone else's gimmick. Like the Shotgun Yon guy was Shotgun Tom, and he was the hip hop guy. So I came out to I made a I got like I downloaded like bullet sounds and then put it at the front of "Steal My Sunshine" by Lynn.
Sweet.
Yeah, and yeah, but so anyway, in this email, you said that it blew up to the point where it ended up becoming like an indoor league.
Yeah. So it like when later on, like I mean, obviously in grade 9 we sucked at wrestling. We were fucking terrible. We'd botch moves and stuff. And as it kind of went on, and we all sort of there was a lot of aggression in the earlier times. Like once we kind of learned to sort things out, and I wasn't having, like you were saying, getting dropped on your head. I'd have like two guys would grab me and be like, 3D, and one guy would hold me up and the other guy would just like pull me down and drop me right on my face, and the other guy wouldn't fall with it, and I'd be like, okay, so that's how it is. My nose is all fucked up now. And but yeah, the later years we had big crowds, like, we would go in like public parks and stuff, and we'd have like, up to like 100 and 200 people coming to watch us. And, obviously the cops come and we have to demonstrate some moves for the cops and show them we're not brawling like for real. And yeah, we'd get big crowds, and it would always have to be advertised with a big death match. It'd have to be like ultimate death match, went up to a huge number. Like they'd count them, ultimate death match 1, 2, 3. I think they ended up doing like 7 or 9 or something like that over the years. And the last ones were in like a real ring, real venue, sold out venue in town here. And it was kind of crazy. There, back in the day, we used to have like 2 backyard leagues, and one of them kind of, did a whole bunch of shows. They were more of like a technical storyline, a little bit less bloody fed. And we had like a pretty crappy ring if for the like whole first part of doing indoor shows and stuff. And but we would go in these like basement like venues and stuff where they do shows, and we set up a ring. And then I guess later on we ended up getting a real ring, but that was like after I had done wrestling. We were using a pretty crappy one when I like finished, but it was still, nonetheless, it was a ring indoors and stuff. Better than taking bumps on grass or concrete or ice, whatever it is we're getting dropped on.
And so,
But yeah, we
go
had big
ahead.
crowds.
Like I'm imagining when you say ice, like being that I'm an ignorant American, I'm thinking like you guys are out in like a tundra and like there's nothing. It's like the scene from Mighty Ducks where Gordon Bombay drives the limo up onto the ice. Like you guys are just throwing each other around, and there's nobody there to see this madness. But
Well, it's kind of like where I am. We're on the prairies, so tundra at times. You're really not far off there. I mean, it's a reasonable sized city, but when you're in a park in the dead of winter, or if you're someone's backyard in the dead of winter, that's when you're not going to have anybody around really to see. Everyone's kind of going to be indoors when it's freezing. We'd be throwing each other around on probably like packed down snow or ice if we brawled out in the alley. Going out to the alley was sort of your going out of the ring thing, because that's when you're like, you're going by people's yards and stuff, throwing people into people's fences and all that. It was pretty destructive at times, actually. Pretty rebellious. I might not want to be talking about it on the on the radio. But yeah, it's like the back alley brawls where you'd be thrown down pretty hard if you landed, because that's when you're in like the ruts that the cars drive in and stuff. So yeah, pretty much like hard jagged ice at times. Kind of sucked.
uh, now, being that it was a back, you said you guys actually had to put together like shows, like at least some sort of structure. Like I'm always interested because I have a few friends who I didn't grow up with who also backyard, and they always bring up weird stories about like politics in the backyard wrestling fet. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I will not lose in your yard to this guy in this fake fight. Like, did you guys? Are there like any like weird stories like that necessarily? Like, oh, I won't lose to this guy. This guy is also wearing jeans and also falling in glass for nothing in front of these people on this ice.
There's a lot of that. There was when I say that there was aggression in the early days, there was like, because we had booking and stuff, but like I said, there were 2 leagues, and one league was solely run by one dude who is like a big time wrestling fan. He'd probably make a great promoter if he wasn't like a master chef now or whatever he does. Uh, he'd make a great promoter now, because back then we'd all go on MSN Messenger after school and stuff, and he'd kind of throughout the day when you're just like doing whatever at home, he'd be sending you all your the spots he wants to see, and he'd be sending you the card and like who you're going up against. Luckily I was like a in a really weird way to say it, I was a good worker for him. Like, I would always show up to shows and stuff, and I'd give it my all every time, and I'd end up exhausted at the end of the day. And so he'd always have me win. So I didn't have to put very many people over in the one league that was more about like storylines and stuff. If I lost, it was usually because I tried to cheat and I, ended up getting screwed over. But in the other league, we had a lot of the time, and they're the ones who actually blew up. They're the ones who they're still around and they still tour right now. Uh, they're more of an extreme kind of league, and there was a lot of like politics and stuff that would go on there because you had like some guys were in one league and not the other, but I was in both. I was wrestling like 3 times a week at some points, and in that one we had a lot of people who they were just like you go into a match and you're not 100% sure who's supposed to win. You kind of debate because you kind of have talked about it. Should I win? Should I win? It's like, oh, I kind of want to win and stuff. And you wouldn't really talk too much with the guy before you actually went into the match. And then like when you're, in it, we'd kind of call spots quietly and stuff like that. And, sometimes during the match to be like, I'm winning. And, I just tended to win a lot. I was kind of used to it because I had like sweet ass moves, and a lot of the time people would just tap out early on in the match, not because I'm too stiff.
Oh, you're shooting on them, brother.
Yeah, well, they called me the rookie killer because I made a lot of kids not want to wrestle anymore, which they wanted. They wanted to keep it pretty light because once everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are backyard wrestlers? What's that all about?" and they'd be like, "Oh, you should come on out, take a dark match with FIREBOLT before the show," and it would be not. It was not pretty sometimes. Usually, it was just like, like my signature backbreaker, and where you kind of hold them over your knee from like it's an atomic drop to set up to backbreaker, and you hold them over your knee and you put your elbow in their face and like try to make them tap like that and kind of keep their arms down. So it's a really like realistic one. It doesn't hurt that much to take unless I'm actually, unless they're not like keeping their back straight. And then that's when it starts to hurt. And the newbies, I tell them, keep your back flex, keep your back, keep it so that you're not like bending right back over my knee, but they'd forget. And that's when you'd have them like, I'm never coming back to wrestling shows again.
Oh,
I'm a terrible person.
That reminds me. This was before I met up with my friends who I told the story about a few minutes ago. There was a kid who had a trampoline when I was like 9 or 10, and he one day like said literally a friggin' petition around school. Hey, who wants to come over and wrestle on my trampoline? And I wrote my name down, but then my mom got word and she's like, you can go over there, but if any of those boys wrestle you, you're grounded. It wasn't even like, oh, if you get hurt, if any of them touch you, you're grounded. So I was allowed to stand around the trampoline while these kids, who some of them knew what the deal was with wrestling, some of them apparently didn't, fought on the trampoline, but like with wrestling moves. Like they would do
Oh wow.
like legitimate, like try to legitimately body slam and suplex each other on the trampoline. But like the big thing, there was one match where there were these two kids that nobody really liked. So every time they would get up, somebody would pull one of their legs from like the outside. It was like a shoot lumberjack match, and like I really got into it. And I remember that I didn't know that those two kids were like the pariahs or whatever. And so the next match, I did it. I kept pulling the guy's legs. And then eventually there was a mutiny, like against me, and the biggest kid there besides me, because I was a freaking nature giant as a little kid, walks up to me, and I was a pansy big kid. I was one of those big kids who didn't want anyone near him because they would kill him because I was super clumsy. But he walks up to me and he's like, "You trip one of them one more time, and it'll be you up there against all of us." There were like 20 kids. There were 20 kids. Think about this. 21 kids on a trampoline. That's insane.
Oh, no doubt.
No, and I ended up going home crying. But literally crying. I got that freaked out.
Damn, man.
Yeah,
That's
but
tough.
I know, right? But your story sounds very similar to a documentary I just saw the other day, which if you haven't seen it, I believe Netflix distributes it. It's have you ever heard of the NWF?
No,
It
I haven't.
oh my goodness, you need to see this doc. It's a kids wrestling federation from Minnesota in the 80s where it literally started as some kids having a camcorder in their basement doing like pro wrestling moves on a mattress, and then they somehow convinced the public access station to let them convert a stage they had at their studio into a ring, and then they got a real ring, and then some like creepy musclehead dude in his 30s decided he wanted to wrestle with these little kids, and then he bought them a real ring, and then they started doing actual shows in front of like 400 people in an armory, and then he like stole all of their money and
Holy
their ring.
shit.
Oh, it's
Oh my
crazy.
god.
And like the weird thing about this is you got like all these like chubby middle-aged dudes who were in the league at the time as little kids talking like they were in like the WWF. Like this was the biggest thing in the world. Like, oh, when we were 10, Charlie and I had a match for the NWF belt, and like 30 people were there, and Charlie wouldn't lose. And let me tell you what happened. Charlie did lose, and I made him lose. And he's like looking stern into the camera and like pointing at it. And like there was money put into this, but it
Wow.
was essentially for these guys getting to talk about their like childhoods. It was really
Wow.
weird. But
That is intense.
their title matches were shoots, like legitimate fights. And like it stopped when they did a title match between two kids, and one of them was like the promoter, and he really wanted the belt. And he knew the other kid quote couldn't take pain well, so he wrapped him in a body scissors and wouldn't let go until he broke one of the kid's ribs.
Dude, I got a story about that.
Okay,
I
go
got
ahead.
a, no bones were broken in this story, although I'm pretty sure something wasn't right. So, not with me, with the other guy. So I had a match for the SXBW World Heavyweight Championship is what we called it, and it was probably the oldest belt that we had because we'd make our belts like out of wood and they'd be like decorative and stuff, and they were pretty cool. This one was kind of it was a little uglier than the others, but it's because it was older. And I had this belt, and I was going up against the guy who kind of he's probably the dude I've seen take the rankest amount of pain in my entire life. He we had a match and we went into the match like I was saying one where he's kind of like I want to win this one, and I was like, no man, I'm not giving you my title. And we kind of didn't discuss it ahead of time, and we were wrestling in the schoolyard park. It was like during summer holidays or whatever, so we had pretty much like an empty playground slash soccer field to wrestle in. These are the ghetto days, and that we only had like a crowd of like 30 people or so this show. And so we're wrestling, I have him in an ankle lock, and I kind of have him in like the gravel next to this playground. I mean, we didn't really wrestle on the playground, but I had him in the gravel next to the playground, and he's kind of like sinking into the gravel, and I had him in an ankle lock because it was kind of like that was my like OG finisher way back in the day. I would do it all the time, but I kind of hadn't used it in a while. But he was like getting really stiff, like punching me straight in the face, and I was like, okay, this is not okay. He's going down in this match. We're at like the 20-minute mark, and like he's like giving me black eyes and stuff. And so I put him in an ankle lock, and I'm just like, tap out, man, tap out. And he's like no, no. And so I like keep wrenching his ankle back more and more. And then I like look at his ankle as to how far I had it wrenched back, and I looked at it. I was like, that's fucking disgusting. Oh, like because his like it's twisted all the way around, like almost completely right around. And I let go because I'm just like, I don't want to break this dude's ankle. And then all of a sudden I hear the grossest sound come out of his ankle. It's like it was completely dislocated, and he like popped it back
Yeah.
into place. And he just like gets up, punches me like right in the face, then grabs the belt. And like, I take a belt bump. I didn't really get hit that hard with it or whatever, but I go down and I'm on the gravel, and then he puts me in a sharpshooter, and he just leans into it so hard till I'm just like hearing my back crack more and more. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I'm not letting go. I'm not letting go. I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm not, I'm not getting my back broken for this, like, crappy wooden belt. Plus, I had a better title run in RWF anyways.
Hmm. And people don't realize, like, especially like non-wrestling fans, like these, like, especially with like mixed martial arts being so big, like some of these wrestling holds are like, oh, that doesn't hurt, whatever. Forget them. Like the sharpshooter.
Oh my god.
I put a like we were just goofing around like in the playground in like fifth grade, and I put my friend AJ is this little scrawny flexible kid. He's just like, put me in any hold, whatever, it can't hurt me. Like I put him in like a sleeper, and obviously I didn't know what I was doing. I just like choked him for a minute. It's like, oh, whatever. So then I put him in the sharpshooter, and like I sat down on it. I was a fat kid. I'm still I still have a bit of a belly on me and such, but I was a friggin' fat kid. And I was, like I said, I was really stinking tall. So it was pretty much like an adult beating up a child. And I put him in the sharpshooter, and I sit down with it, kind of like Jericho used to do the lion tamer.
Yeah.
And like I reach back, and he's screaming, and like I reach back some more. He screams a little bit louder. I reach back the third time, nothing. And I'm like, what's going on? So I reach back a little further, thinking, oh, he's trying to be a tough guy. Still
Yeah.
hear nothing. I look back, he's passed out because it hurt so bad. And they had to
Oh
like,
man.
and they had to like take him to the hospital and like do all the smelling salt crap. And yeah, we were banned from wrestling at that point. They banned wrestling shirts from the school and wrestling references. Even though the prior week, I had received an Al Snow shirt right when he like broke big in the WWF. It said on the front, "What does everybody want?" and on the back it has the picture of Head. At the time,
Head.
at the time, I didn't know that Head was a blowjob thing. I didn't know it was anything remotely related to that. So like, I wear it to school, and I don't get the reference. One of the teachers asks me, "So what's the deal with the shirt?" And I go, uh, well, the thing on the back is Head. What does everybody want? Head. And I'm just thinking I'm referring to a mannequin. But
Yeah.
like remembering it back, like I turn around and I explain Head, and the teacher giggles to herself and then sends me off on my way. And I look back, and she's like losing her crap. So obviously, yeah. So and I don't mean to take over the conversation. I did want to bring up like your story sounds remarkably similar to how this area was, because like we had our little backyard league, and then there were kids I went to high school with who had their backyard league, and then like the guys I hung out with were more into like independent wrestling and hardcore stuff, and then the guys back home, because I backyarded with kids that like were 45 minutes away from where I lived,
Oh
whereas the
yeah.
kids back home were like doing like WWF stuff, and like the lead guy was like huge mark for the Rock and yada yada yada, and like they didn't blow up, but they just kept doing it until it got really weird. Like they were 2 years older than me, most of them, and they ran their last show 3 months ago. But
Oh wow.
yeah, and like you said, you have guys that are still doing it up there, but like
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say there's actually like there's one league of dudes who they're traveling in towns, and another dude who they or another league of dudes who they actually pull in like draws like Gangrel and stuff, and all these old school wrestlers will come to their shows because they're like straight pro now.
Yeah, see, these kids are still like backyarding, but like they found a building that would let them do their little stuff in there, and like it's kind of like going back and like because they put their stuff up on YouTube, and I it was brought to my attention years ago, and then I thought they stopped doing it, and then this dude from Pennsylvania that follows me on Twitter sent a link asking if I knew who they were because he knew I was from the same town as them. Again, he was just like looking up bad wrestling online, and he found them. They're called Ultimate Boneyard Wrestling. They were
Boneyard.
they were Ultimate Backyard Wrestling, but then they had to move inside, and they used to backyard at a place called the Boneyard, thus Ultimate Boneyard Wrestling. Uh, but yeah, all their stuff's on YouTube if people want to go search it. But my favorite thing they ever did was and this was just like recently, like a year ago. Like they had a Shawn Michaels Halloween costume contest where everyone had to dress up like Shawn Michaels, and then they announced in the ring that they were now having a battle royal, and the winner would get 2 tickets to a WWE house show, and they didn't give the guys a finish, so it was a shoot battle royal.
Oh shit.
I know, and somehow nobody got hurt, I guess, but but yeah, somebody really had to try hard to get those tickets, and yeah, like a couple of those guys have gone on to become independent wrestlers, uh, like actual like trained guys, but most of them are just they're chubby dudes who work at Pizza Hut, and then once a month they put on a T-shirt with some drawing on it and go wrestle in a ring. That I guess
Yeah.
they like my mom. Uh, yeah, my mom, she's one of those types. Oh, you're into wrestling, so everything wrestling related I find in public, I will send to you. And they had an article in the newspaper back home, and she sent it to me. And their big origin story now is not that they were backyard wrestlers, but that one of them met a guy in Minnesota who sold them a ring for $5,000, and they had to drive there, drive back twice to get it here. And then they're like, "Oh, let's form a wrestling group,"
Oh, whoa.
which makes all sorts of sense. But well, anyway, so yeah, obviously you're out of this backyard wrestling firebolt phase now. When was that?
Yeah.
When was that moment you were like, "Oh, I'm getting too old for this"?
Well, it was actually, this is such an asshole story, actually, but during one of the underground shows, like once we started going indoors, there was a moment where they were like, okay, so, and nobody told me about this ahead of time, and they were like, okay, well, all the wrestlers need to pay to wrestle at this show. And the way I saw it is like, finally we were at the point where we didn't need to buy our own hardcore props. We didn't need to do anything like that. We built the ring off of everybody pitching in and kind of contributing and building it and stuff. And and then we were charging admission. So the way I saw it is I'm like, we're on our way to getting paid, but the wrestlers shouldn't have to pay to wrestle this show. And so after the show, they were like, "Oh, so where's your money, man?" And I was like, "Money?" And they're like, "Yeah, you got to pay to wrestle." I was like, because we'd done indoor shows before, and this is never the case. And we just, pitch on the venue or whatever we were doing. And then I was like, I can't pay to wrestle. And they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, you gotta pay up." And I was like, "No, man, I can't do this." And so then after that, it was kind of, they'd ask me to come to shows and stuff every now and then, but I started working and stuff, and I was like, not really into it anymore. And yeah, so there's actually a long time where I went where I kind of just like, would go to their shows, but I was still a fan, but they were all still my buddies, but I wasn't actually wrestling. But yeah, I probably finished at about 18 in like 2004 or something like that. I'm 26 now, so
Which that's a sensical age to stop wrestling, especially if you like you said you're not getting paid. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
yeah.
I just didn't like that they would ask me for money to do it because, especially in that match, because I got kicked in the head. One of my best friends showed up to the show and he sits in the front row, and I'm wrestling the guy I'd been feuding with for the last 2 years, and we had known each other's inside and out, and we had like the most epic feud. It was unimaginably like well scripted for a backyard show or like a backyard series, whatever you want to call it. And he's like a little lightweight dude, and I was kind of a heavyweight in that league. uh I'm not like, I'm not a gigantic wrestler or anything. I'm like 200 pounds, but 6 feet. It's so not like crazy, but this dude's little. So I'm wrestling this guy, and we finish a spot that we're kind of like, just facing each other down. And one of my best friends sits in the front row. He's like, "Kick him in the head." And all of a sudden, this dude, Vic Scorn, he just like shining wizards me right in the face so hard. And I didn't even know how to, I didn't sell it because normally I'd know the move is coming, I'd sell it. And he just like kicks me so hard in the face. And I'm like, I didn't even sell it. I just like slowly, like a tree dropping. I just hit the mat so hard, and I was just like, "Fuck you!" Oh. So that was that was the last match I ever did, and that's the match where they were like, I was like, after the match, my face is all swollen and crap, and they're like, that's when they come up and they're like, "Oh, so where's your wrestling fee?" So yeah, that was
That's great. Okay, here you got kicked in the head. We want money from you now.
exactly right. I mean, the match was good. I think I pretty sure, yeah, I won that one, and but yeah, I was in a lot of pain after that one.
I would
I didn't
imagine.
really take too many big time injuries. I got scars from it, but not really, never broke anything or never got a concussion, just bled a lot.
Now, as you mentioned, you wanted to like keep the league small. Obviously, didn't want like everybody in, and you were obviously not the big tough guy who kept everyone out with your deadly backbreaker. But did Eddie like really? I you don't have to mention anybody by name if they're like friends now. But were there any like really weird kids that somehow fell through the cracks, and whether they just stuck around for like one or two shows and they were like kind of those guys. So, like for instance, like an example to give you, there's this dude named Wolfie who I did one backyard show with, and he was to tell you the type of mindset the guy was in. I was at a Ring of Honor show with him and some mutual friends once, and he wore sheepskin pants to the show for no reason. And then he comes back after the second match, and he's wearing a different set of pants. And my friend Mikey's like, Wolf, where'd your pants go? And he goes, I got hot. Dramatic pause. Dramatic pause. Looks at the ring. Looks at Mikey. So I took off my pants. And then puts his hand on his hip and watches the action. Like he just said the smartest thing ever. But no, this dude, he was Juggalo, Ninja, whatever. They did like a tag team match, and the deal was Mikey and Wolfie were like the babyface good guys, and Mikey was gonna get the crap beat out of him, then tag out, and Wolfie was gonna make the save. Mikey gets crap beat out of him, tags to Wolfie. Wolfie throws one punch to one of the heels, and then stomps Mikey. And you can hear Mikey yelling, "What are you doing to me?" And Wolfie replies, "I changed my mind. This match sucks." Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'd get like I don't know, you'd get like people who, I'd usually go by the script. I hated shoot matches. Like shoot matches, when I say there was aggression in the early days, it was kind of, there was some of it, but I preferred the more like, I guess you could call them the more gimmicky league. They were less about, blood and violence and stuff, and more about like they tried to be like technical wrestling and stuff. There was actually some pretty good guys in there, and that's where like everything was. If you didn't do what the promote, like he was one of the wrestlers. He wasn't even actually like a figurehead on camera or anything like that or on the shows, but he would like if you didn't do what he like instructed you to do in all the emails or messages he'd send you and stuff, then it was kind of like they'd kind of blackball you and you'd lose all your matches from then. And if it turned into a shoot, you'd kind of just get overpowered probably. And so I preferred when there was like a really distinct end to the match, but there were times where everyone would kind of do this. Like when you use that match as an example, there'd be times where you knew what somebody's spot was, but you just decided to throw in a little something extra, and it would kind of, not like turning on your partner or anything like that. But I can think of one thing where this kid, I didn't really like him that much, and he learned how to do a shooting star press and a moonsault. I'm so impressed he was able to learn how to do those moves, and he was doing a shooting star press one, no, a moonsault on this time, and I was like it was a tag team match, and I was like not tagged in at the time, and he goes to do it, and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I like last minute I think he was jumping off of like a bench or something like that, or some kind of prop, and I like just like jolted at the last minute, like or the last second. I just like hit the bench and like grab it and shake it, and I don't know why I fucking did that, because you know what could happen to dude if he goes off on a moonsault wrong. And yeah, he ended up like the guy was standing who he was going to do a moonsault to, and the guy ended up like having to pile drive him like inverted tombstone style, because he hit him but then just like fell straight down, and he had to like catch him on the way down and drop him down. So usually those were the moments when somebody would actually get hurt, when we would kind of go off the script. But I don't know, there were some kids who would show up and they were, if you say people fell between the cracks, there's one guy like he was a good guy, I guess. I don't really remember who he was like affiliated with, but I think his name was Deadshot. And he basically he had a paintball gun, and he was tall, and he was he wasn't like a big dude or anything. He didn't know how to wrestle, but people would give him matches because he had a paintball gun. and I guess he was friends with somebody. And so we did this big, like, pay-per-view where we'd like charge everybody like $4 to go into this guy's backyard. And like, we had like a crowd of like 150 at this show, and which pretty much completely fills your backyard except for the ring. And so buddy, my friend gets booked against him in a match they'd never even met before, and they were like, "Oh, here, you're gonna wrestle this guy. He comes to the ring with a paintball gun. His name's Deadshot." And my buddy's like, "What?" And you're not shooting me with a paintball gun, dude. And so Deadshot shows up. He's in like paintball camo gear, like the full body suit for that, and like the paintball mask and stuff. And he comes to the ring with the gun and like shoots a few rounds at the fence and stuff. And I guess his big his big gimmick is that he shoots you with a paintball gun to finish the match. And so it was like a no holds barred rules match, but they didn't have weapons around the ring and stuff. So my buddy, like, I think they did like a few ladder spots, and my buddy was supposed to win the match, which he did. Gave him his big Uncle Slam, his full Nelson, and pins him. And then as soon as he gets pinned, and my buddy's like celebrating to the crowd and stuff, and my buddy's like a big chunky dude. He was a believable win in this match. And as soon as this guy loses, he just like rolls over, grabs his paintball gun, and then shoots my buddy with the gun. And he's just like, "Oh fuck, what are you doing?" And he's just like pelting him in the arm with these paintball rounds, and the crowd is loving it. They're just going nuts for it. But then my buddy like just like knocks the gun flying out of his hand, like throws his paintball gun across the yard, and just walks out on the match. And I mean, it was a good match. It was over, and it was okay despite Deadshot never having wrestled a match in his life and coming on in front of like a huge crowd. And yeah, some of those shows though would have like death matches that I wish I could unsee.
Death matches are that's like I've been to actual like King of the Death Matches shows with like
Awesome.
pros like I've been 3 feet away from like Necro Butcher having a VCR thrown at his head and being flung onto concrete from like the top rope and hearing his bones all shatter. Yeah, like I don't know how much of a U.S. like American independent wrestling fan you are, or even if you've seen like the CM Punk documentary WWE put out. But
Seen some of that, yeah.
yeah, like the IWA Mid South stuff. Like I grew up, like I'm from like within 2 hours of where Ian Rock would run those shows. So like I got to see like Punk and Hero and all of them. But like half of Ian's shows are death matches, like not half of them, but there were a good amount of death matches Ian ran, and like I got to go to some of the King of the Death Matches shows, and yeah, it's an interesting crowd. A lot of juggle, but they're like, it's like a weird sense of family. Like nobody else understands these weird people who like to converge and watch people cut open their foreheads for no other reason than entertainment.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's bizarre, and yeah, I won't trash them, but yeah, they're a different breed of folk. Let's just say, but yeah. So backyard wrestling, it's awesome, and we could spend all night talking about this, but probably shouldn't since that's not good for our health at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, like something else I wanted to talk because you had sent me a list of stuff that we could potentially talk about, just ideas you were throwing out. One of them was the catapult. How you were so confused by like the physics of it. I wanted to talk to you about that because I am very much in your court about said catapult.
Yeah, man. It's like the move, like you got the guy and he's you grab his legs and you're kind of in the middle or kind of towards one corner of the ring, and you prop him up against your knees and you fall back, and then all of a sudden Buddy does one massive mighty sit up. He's like, it's like that's like the most intense sit up you'll ever do. It's a sit up that makes you go flying way up in the air and you jump and you hit the turnbuckle. And there are some wrestlers like Shawn Michaels can make it look really believable, and you do, but you watch that move and you're like, how does that work? Like, how does falling back like that make make the guy unintentionally go flying into the turnbuckle? Like, there's no way that's not like a huge big time dual effort.
Like, that's just one of those things I guess you gotta accept about wrestling. Like, hey, I'm gonna grab you by the wrist and fling you, and you're going to run and bounce off the ropes and come back to me. Like, I
Yeah,
guess that's
true.
that's one of those things. But like the catapult, like what always is fun about that to me is like it's one of those moves where the guy taking it, like if it's all real, the guy knows it's going to happen, and he could, I guess, he can kind of, if it were a real fight, he could kind of control where it's, but 99% of the time, just fall into like the turnbuckle. And I always remember there was this one time on an ECW pay per view back in the day where the guy who went on to be Joey Mercury from Eminem in WWE took the catapult and then landed on the second rope and did like a body press to the guy. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. Why has no one ever done that before? And,
That's awesome.
yeah, and like I have a friend who, because he works down in a WWE developmental now. He's one of the trainers down there. And I have a friend who works down there too. And
Nice.
I bug him a lot. Like, ask Joey about the catapult. I still haven't gotten an answer. Like, how did you come up with that? It's genius. Yeah, the stinking catapult. So yeah, you also mentioned watching New Japan. Are you like a current New Japan fan? Were you one of those like New Japan fans from like back in the day when there was like tape trading going on? Like,
You know what? I was into like in probably like when in my backyard wrestling days, I guess. I mean, we all watched WWE and stuff at the time, and I still watch it, but it's whatever they do. Last Raw was sweet, but the WWE was kind of it's kind of whatever to me. It is what it is. But New Japan, I'd watch New Japan, All Japan, and Toryumon back in the day, and I loved Sema. I think he was with Toryumon in
yeah,
back when I was
yeah.
in high school. And Sema was like my hero when I was a kid, and Yushin Liger, who he's like, I love how he's like a jobber now. Like he's, he not that he's a jobber for real, but he goes in the early card matches. He'll let his team lose and stuff, because he wants to put over newer upcoming stars and stuff. I think that's so respectable. Like you don't really see that in Western wrestling. You get a
No.
bigger ego as you get older, and not I'm gonna start putting over younger guys all the time now. And but yeah, I would watch those back in the day, but currently, yeah, I still watch it. Okada Kazuchika, the Rainmaker, that guy he's an exciting wrestler. I'm personally a fan of that. I was watching that All Japan Cup 2013 the other day. That was some beautiful matches.
Yeah, the January 4th New Japan show was like brilliant. Like I'm not like a hardcore New
Missed that
Japan
one.
the guy. Like I watched like every New Japan show, but that Tokyo Dome show was
Oh yeah,
insane. Like especially the second half of that show, it seemed like every match was just nuts.
yeah,
Like
man.
uh like you mentioned Okada and him and Tanahashi had like an insane series of matches.
Yes, that was when that January one. That was when Tanahashi beat him for the title, and then he just won it right back, like on the 7th.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you've heard, but like there have been rumors that Okada's going to WWE or was courted by WWE, which would be
What?
like so disappointing because he's like kind of Japanese modern Ric Flair, and he
Oh,
gets, if he goes to WWE, he'll be like, "Oh hey, you have slanted eyes, you must be like a child." Like
do you
poor
have
Yoshi
any idea how mad I would be if they used him like they used him in TNA? Like,
with the little mask and the friggin' Kato deal.
yeah, man, they turned him into Kato. And like his gimmick in Japan is he's like the Rainmaker. He's got his like gold chains and stuff. He's like, he's part of a faction, but he's also like a little bit too cool for all that. He keeps his manager buddy around, but he kind of doesn't really hang out with the rest of his faction all the time. He's kind of, he's like cocky, but he's still a face. It's he's over like Dolph Ziggler in a lot of ways. He actually looks like Dolph Ziggler, but Asian in a lot of ways. But he's his if they brought him to WWE, they'd cut out like half his move pool. Half his move pool is like you can't use that in WWE. You can't do like set up for like a white noise and then drop him onto your knee instead of onto the mat head first. You can't do that. You can't do a tombstone pile driver willy nilly like he does. I mean, it's amazing, but it's still it's not a finisher. It's just a move that he'll do in the middle of a real exciting spot. And WWE Vince would not have that.
No, but like the cool thing about New Japan, at least to me, is like Like the rap that Japanese wrestling used to get for years is, oh, it's just two dudes in tights having really good matches. But like New Japan, like I'd say like character development wise, like you mean like Okada. I think that's one of the coolest gimmicks currently going.
Oh
And
man, for sure.
and like their production, like that January 4th show, I'd put that up against WrestleMania. Like when friggin' Vance Archer and Harry Smith are getting like a cooler entrance than almost anybody at WrestleMania got, that's when you know it's like really cool.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I love it because you got like those guys who speak English and you can kind of get what they're saying. A lot of time it's like the heels, you can hear what they're saying, like like Davey Boy Smith Jr. and stuff. He's pretty awesome, I think. Uh, but they speak English, and then you have like 95% of the show is in Japanese. And I think that's what I said in my email. Is the one of the parts that's kind of sweet about it is you're watching the show and it's not in English at all. There's some promos that are in English and they call some move names in English, the commentators, but really you just got the guys' names pretty much, and you have the match. I feel it makes it so much easier to pay attention when you don't have like, and it's not really like a knock on Western stuff, but you've got commentators playing with dolls and stuff, and like, oh, check out this toy, it's really cool. That's so distracting to me. I
Oh come
like,
on, JBL punching a Rey Mysterio figure for like 2 minutes at WrestleMania was the funniest thing ever. Come on,
okay, that
come
was pretty
on.
great. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that.
JBL in general in that show was awesome because I think I tweeted out something like JBL's blood alcohol level was 21-0. Like his eyes were just darting every which way but the camera every time they would go to the announcer 3 shot. Like someone was like shooting whiskey into his veins or something.
No doubt.
But anyway, New
Yeah,
Japan. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. I actually watched like that show right after I watched WrestleMania, and like the New Japan Cup, I'd put that on par with WrestleMania too. They got some of the characters they got right now, like what's his name, Toru Yano, like he's like a brawler. He's almost like a Japanese Stone Cold Steve Austin type character. He's like kind of like a big brawler dude, and he'll go outside the ring and invite you out of the ring to come brawl with you. I think they got some great characters lined up on there, but I also like Dragon's Gate. It's kind of fun. It's almost like the Toryumon style.
Yeah, it's essentially like Sema and them broke off and formed their own little deal. I got to see a lot of those guys because they did Dragon Gate shows out in Indianapolis and Chicago, and
Oh,
I
that'd be
got
awesome.
yeah, it was just and like not just were the matches awesome, but like at the end of one of the shows, Steamer grabs the microphone and he knows like 10 words in English. So like he tries to cut this promo in English, and it's I don't want to perpetuate that whole Japanese people sound like children stereotype, but it was kind of adorable watching him try to go like, "You all like show, yes," and then everyone would go nuts,
I
and
love that.
like and he's got like insane charisma. Like it drives me nuts when people go, "Oh, Japanese wrestlers, they don't have any charisma, they don't have any pizzazz, they're just wrestlers." When I saw like in Chicago at like the world's coldest movie theater, or not movie, but like old timey theater in Chicago, I saw Sema make like a crowd of 1,000 people go nuts just by speaking broken English.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Seba's insanely talented. My God, that guy is. Back in my backyard days, I was real inspired by him because I was like, I was considered a bit of a heavyweight then. Like there were big dudes in it too, but I kind of would tangle with them. But he's the guy who inspired me to sort of, you can be sort of like a heavyweight, sort of, take up space like that, and but still like act like a complete like super lightweight and stuff. Because his frog splash like across the entire ring and stuff, that's amazing.
Oh, most of those guys in general are amazing. Like Yoshino running the
Oh yeah.
ropes as fast as he does. Like that's insane. And the fact that like I've heard stories that all those dudes are like insane chain smokers. And to
Oh
have
really?
that cardio after going out and like smoking a carton like in the parking lot before the show, like that's nuts to me. Like
Maybe that's why we go through so many tiger masks, eh?
oh, like okay, I'm gonna throw out a Tiger Mask story.
Nice.
when that Mikey kid I mentioned earlier, um, him and I and some other dudes, like 6 or like almost 9, 10 years ago, um, did put together like a couple of like really stupid independent like real wrestling shows, and like wasted so much money, but somehow we got Tiger Mask 4 on the second show we ran because we were in the we were aligned with the NWA because the NWA had free insurance and our building wanted insurance, and Tiger Mask 4 was coming to America to drop the junior heavyweight title because New Japan was splitting from the NWA. They're back together now, I guess. Rob
Yeah.
Conway's over there and all that. But
Doing invasions, quote unquote.
yes, what's the Trobich is the president, dude. His promos are something else.
Oh
But
my God.
like it's like they threw like some middle-aged dude in front of a camera and said, "Whatever you think pro wrestling is, just do it for 3 minutes and go." Like he just, oh, like those things
He's
are
like,
classic. Go
I
ahead.
love it. The dude's like, I actually tweeted a picture of that the other day.
Yes.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah,
the
I
one
was
of
like, little bundle of joy, and I was just like, and I was like, dude, is this? He's like, NWA is coming to New Japan, and it is the greatest wrestling promotion in the world. Who I have is without a doubt the greatest wrestler alive today. He is spectacular, and I'm like, whoa! It's like they had a list of buzzwords they had to use, and then Rob Conway gets the mic, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to show you guys what it's all about. I'm going to level you. It is going to be sensational or something like that. And I'm like, wow, these promos, I love them because if you said that on like, WWE or whatever, or TNA, I don't know about TNA, maybe you can say some pretty cheesy stuff on there. But they're, if you come onto a Western promotion in general and start talking like that and being like, enjoy, people are going to be like so confused. They're like, so are you really wanting to win this match or are you just wanting to give us a show? And that's the big difference right there, I think, in that your Japanese fans, they just want to see an awesome show. And that's why they don't have all these move restrictions and stuff. If these guys want to land on their head, they can land on their head. That's what I like about it so much.
yeah. But going back to the Tiger Mask story, like we like he was coming over to do like a whole tour, and like one of these shows he's supposed to drop the junior heavyweight title. Problem is, every one of those shows he was against a TNA guy, and TNA had just bolted from the NWA, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, our show was the only show that he wasn't up against a TNA guy. So 48 hours before the show, I get a call at like 1 a.m. from Mike. He's like, in 20 seconds, you are going to be on a conference call with Ed Schumann and Rico Man from the NWA and so from New Japan, and go. And then I get traced into a conference call with these people at 1 a.m. I was asleep, and I get to listen to these guys negotiate a finish for how are we going to get this belt off of Tiger Mask at your show. and
Whoa.
and like before my very ears, like they're like, what if we took the mask off of him? And like he covered his face and Quack pinned him. What's going on here? Like it was nuts. And like, yeah, I couldn't believe my ears. And then like at one point we thought they weren't gonna bring Tiger Mask because he kind of got scared about taking the mask off and all. But then he shows up with like the TV crew from the channel that they are on in Japan, like following him. Like they were doing like
All
Tiger
these guys
Mask.
in the tracksuits who stand around the
Yes,
ring taking pictures and stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
the sweet tracksuits, and Tiger Mask had a pretty sweet Tiger Mask tracksuit himself.
Nice.
Yes, but like I guess they had like gone around town and shot like hours of Tiger Mask around Portage, Indiana, for for like a special they were going to air, like a day in the life of Tiger Mask in America or whatever. It like never ended up airing, but like I know I was around for part of because there was a bowling alley in the building too, and they had taken Tiger Mask bowling, so
Nice.
which I would have killed to see. But yeah, like
Does he wear his mask?
he wore his mask everywhere. Like
Oh,
from the
that's awesome.
second they touched
That's what I
down,
thought. But
yeah, from the second he touched down at O'Hare in Chicago, he slips on the mask in case, fluke of a fluke, there's a member of the Japanese media there.
yeah.
But no, and then like he goes out and they do the match and the title's on the line and there's like 150 internet fans and nobody's expecting Tiger Mask to do much of anything because it's American independent show. Nobody's reacting, whatever. And then Quack starts taking off the mask, and if you know anything about his promotion, Chikara, you know that like the mask is like the big deal there because it's kind of
Oh
based
yeah,
off of Lucha. Yeah, he starts taking off the mask, and like this crowd who's not reacted to anything. I mean, we put on like an insane show. Like we did Marty Jannetty against the guy that's now known as Seth Rollins. We
oh
did that
wow,
match. Yeah, we did like Human Tornado, who was big at the time. Him and Josh Abercrombie had a match, and Eric Cannon against Joey Mercury just off it, like literally 2 weeks off
oh,
of WWE TV. There was like 10 grand blown on this show. Like Alex Shelley and Loki was on this show. Just the most ridiculous independent show in front of like people who just wanted to sit on their hands. But but no, this crowd wasn't reacting at all. And then you hear, oh, like people were legitimately concerned, like what's going on here. And then yeah, Quack snatches the mask, roll up 1, 2, 3, and these people are like kind of legitimately sad that they just saw Tiger Mask get unmasked. And then Mike
wow,
Quackenbush walks around with the mask, cuts a promo, kind of like that, kind of like one of those like Trobich promos, like
yeah.
Japan. I've wanted to go to you for a long time, and you haven't looked at me. What do you think about me now? And like that weird super villainy voice. And then nothing ever came of it. But yeah, that's always like the one little trivia note I kind of have a piece of is I helped put together the show that Tiger Mask took his mask off in America for no reason other than
Whoa,
yeah. So
that's
whatever.
sad. That's a sad story. It's a cool story, but it's a sad story.
It really is. Like we spent like stupid like that's a whole nother subject. Like we were bringing in like Brian Alvarez, the newsletter writer from Figure Four Weekly, who does stuff with the
Yeah,
Wrestling Observer now. He came in to wrestle for us, and for no reason other than his name was on the internet. But yeah. But anyway, all
yeah.
sorts of insane stories like that happening. Uh,
Canadian independent promotions are a little more. You got people get drunk and they get crazy. No matter how much of an internet fan you are, if you know the people who go to these matches, it's you they go crazy for you got basically everyone's a mark after 6 beers in Saskatchewan.
Oh, drunk people are both the best and worst fans because you
Yeah.
can do anything in front of them and they react. But that's the problem is if you do anything, they will react and you don't know how.
Yep.
Like, how is the indie scene up there, like in general? Because I know British Columbia's kind of got something going on, and like Ontario's got something going on, but like you never hear about your neck of the woods.
It's like high impact wrestling is the guys who some of them used to be backyarders, but now they like, those guys are way past like veteran backyard and stuff. And they're like, they were really, really, really good when we went down to Moose Jaw when I was like 17 to wrestle them. I wrestled one of their guys who he's now Mike McSugar, and I'm trying to get out to Regina to go to one of their shows later on this month. But that's kind of what the indie scene is around here. But then like if you go 8 hours away to Calgary, then you got like Stampede and stuff. So I don't go to a lot of shows, but they do an SXUW is the other one. They tour around in small towns and stuff. I'm pretty sure they're still doing it. That used to be the league that I was in way back when. And but yeah, the high impact guys, they're quite good. Those are the guys who I told you about who brought in Gangrel a little while back. They, I see their posters around, and it's like a couple hours travel to go see them though, so it's a bit of a deterrent to go to shows regularly.
Yeah, that's the thing about America is like there's a show like you reach your arm out and you're touching a wrestling show. Like everyone's got a promotion seemingly in America. Like
Yeah,
where like
I
even
go
like
do shows and I'm just like, damn, I wish I could get out there.
yeah
I
like
do
in
sometimes get out to America though.
yeah. Like that's the like all of us Americans are like spoiled because like I haven't been to an independent show in like a while and like again I'm like actually into independent wrestling and I live near a bunch of it but I just don't know so it's spoiled
Yeah,
American but anyway I think we're about at the end of our time here but we need to do a part two because we've only touched like a third of the topics you suggested and I want to do all of this eventually so I would love to
sounds
have
good.
you back on sometime.
Absolutely, it'd be my pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. Where can people consume you?
at twitter.com/SeanBlazed. I do a little bit for the impersonals.com. I'm really lazy about putting together that kind of stuff, so go there anyways. There's a lot of good writers on there. And, like I said, shout out to High Impact Wrestling. Those guys have got a show coming up here. It's like it's in Regina later on this month, but they got a Facebook page too. And yeah, that's pretty much the way to consume me. I'm not a big, I don't do stand-up, stuff like that. Mostly just tell stupid jokes on Twitter. And, well, now I talk about wrestling on the internet. That's cool.
That's what the internet is built on, is professional wrestling and stupid jokes.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of internet wrestling stuff when I was a kid, or a teen and stuff. And now I kind of watch it, but I'll read articles, but I'll mostly just be I don't feel like I have anything to contribute to this conversation. And none of my friends really talk about wrestling, so this is a nice opportunity for me.
So yes, we will definitely have you back on eventually, and after the song, we'll do the intro or the outro, and blah 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 blah. You're listening to Wrestlefolks. That's it for this week's episode. Do want to thank Sean Blazed once again. Find him on Twitter at Sean Blazed, SEAN, as opposed to the other version of Sean, whatever. We'll be back next week. Again, iTunes, rate, review, all that fun stuff. Get us higher in the algorithm and the rankings and all that. Don't do backflips off of vending machines, because we've seen on YouTube that doesn't work out very well. Follow us on Twitter at Wrestlefolks, Facebook.com/Wrestlefolks. Like us on there. Get first access to the new episodes. Follow me on Twitter at NotThatTomGreat. I live tweet Raw every Monday, and I tell horrible jokes in between Mondays and such. And that's it. Every Wednesday, new episode or something like that. Thanks. Bye.